fatigue kapag nakahiga na, di ba, no? Yung after work. So, doon mo na-feel, di ba, no? Doon mo na ma-manifest na nakakapagod pala yung ginawa kong overtime kapag nakahiga na tayo, di ba, no? And nagre-rest na tayo. For the right-handed person, it is estimated that the strength of the left hand is approximately 10% below that of the right hand. So, kung for example, during our activity, so we can measure naman talaga yung ating grip, di ba? No? Yung the hand grip or yung strength ng ating the left and then the right hand using the hand dynamometer. Depende sa gender, depende sa age. Sineset kasi yun. So, meron tayo yan dito sa department. I-set natin kung male, female, kung anong age, and then, so merong mga standards kung weak ba, average ba, or masyadong malakas or okay yung workers in terms no sa grip, no, in terms of sa strength using the hand dynamometer. So, and then also doon ma-check natin kung alin ba talaga mas ano yung isang employees or individual. Mas malakas ba siya using yung left hand or yung right hand. Okay, so we have the metabolism. It is a process your body uses to get or make energy from the food you eat. It is the chemical process of conversion of food into the mechanical work and heat. These chemical reactions keep your body alive and functioning. So, we have the, punta na tayo sa computation ha. Okay, the most common measure of energy requirement for physical activity is the kilocalorie or the kcal. Typically, the resting energy required to maintain the molecular structure and electrical potentials in the muscle is 0.3 kilocalorie per minute for a man weighing about 70 kilograms or 150 per pound. So, we have the three basic nutrients in foods, the carbohydrates, the proteins, and then the lipids. So, and also we have the energy requirements, or in terms of, we have the, for the carbohydrates, we have the 4 kilocalorie per gram, proteins the same, and then the lipids ay 9. So, in terms of the carbohydrates, here are the following functions ng body. And then ano yung mga common food sources. The same with the proteins and then the lipids. So, di ba parang pag it's more on yung lipids or yung fats, medyo mas matagal in terms of the, totoo ba yun? Mas kailangan natin na mas, in terms of the metabolism, so kailangan natin energy to sustain, let's say kung yung ating mga food na kinakain is more on dito sa category ng lipids or yung fats, di ba na? Let's say kung yung mga common food sources ay butter, cheese, whole milk, mga fatty meats, fast foods, so mga hamburgers, fried chicken, fries, pizza, and then the ice cream. So of course, kailangan natin more ng energy or kailangan natin ng more exercise para mas sa energy expenditure natin. So we have carbohydrates 4, proteins 4, lipids 9. Okay, so let us try this one. So simple algebra lang naman. So in terms of the calorie content in foods, so a 10.75 ounce of condensed chicken noodle soup is mixed with an equal part of water to make 2.5 servings. Each servings contains 890 grams of sodium, 1.5 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbohydrates, including 1 grams of sugar, and 1 grams of protein. Determine the number of calories in each serving. So, yung 1 ounce daw ay 28.3495 grams and 1 grams ay 1,000 milligrams. So, for the computation, considering the problem, so yung total kilocalorie per can ay 143.75 kilocalorie per can. So, try to check nyo na lang pag na-receive nyo yung PowerPoint. It's just only a simple example. Another, a 15-ounce can of corn makes 3.5 serving. Each serving contains 310 milligrams of sodium, 7 grams of fat, and 16 grams of carbohydrates, and 2 grams of protein. Determine the number of calories in can and the percentage of sugar per can. So, ganyan lang yung sa solution. Okay, so next we have the basal metabolism. So a resting person lying down with no digestive activity will require about 1,700 for a man weighing 70 kilograms or 1,400 for a woman of 60 kilograms or 132 pounds kilocalorie per day for a 24-hour period. So also, this maintains steady energy consumption to maintain involuntary activity. So that is known as the basal metabolism. So we have also the total metabolism. So it is the energy consumption of an active person as an algebraic sum of basal metabolism, digestive metabolism, and activity metabolism. Yung daw total metabolism ay an algebraic sum ng basal, digestive, and activity. And then to compute for the digestive metabolism, it can be estimated that at 10% of the sum of the basal and activity, so yun yung ating magiging digestive. Diba na? So meron tayong sample problem mamaya. Okay, so here are some of the examples in terms of the energy expenditure rate for various industrial jobs. So here are the activities, and then so here are the corresponding average energy expenditures in terms of the kilocalorie per minute. So types of metabolism, di ba nga kanina, we have the basal, the activity, and digestive. Pag binagsama, that is the total metabolism. Si basal, energy used only to sustain the vital circulatory and respiratory function. Si activity, energy associated with physical activities such as sports and manual work. And then si digestive, energy used for digestion. Pag pinagsama yung tatlo, that is the total metabolism. Okay, so di ba sabi nga kanina, total metabolism ay yung algebraic sum na basal, the BMR, the AMR, and then the DMR. Di ba na? The basal, the activity, and the digestive. Okay, so in terms of the total daily metabolic rate, so we're going to estimate the following components. For a 20-year-old male, ang BMR niya ay 1.0 kilocalorie per kilogram of body weight. So ang baseline kasi dito ay 20-year-old. 20 years. For a 20-year-old female, ang kanyang basal equivalent ay 0.9. And then there is what we call the age correction. Subtract 2% for each decade above 20 years. And then sa digestive, di ba, sabi, kailangan natin kunin yung 10% nung sa BMR, yung sum ng BMR and dito sa activity, sa digestive. So, tandaan nyo yung sa 20-year-old sa male, 1.0, sa female, 0.9, and then, so, there is an age correction, so subtract 2% for each decade above 20 years. Okay? Okay, let us try example 1. Determine the daily metabolism rate of 35-year-old women who weighs 59 kilograms. Since women, ano yung ating corresponding value? 0.9, di ba na? 0.9. So we're going to determine the daily metabolism rate of a 35-year-old woman who weighs 59 kilograms. So women or female, 35 years old, ang kanyang weight ay 59 kilograms. Okay, this will be your solution. Diba sabi, for ang age that is more than the 20-year-old or 20 years, so magkakaroon ng age correction. Diba sabi dito ng age correction. Subtract 2% for each decade above 20 years. Okay, so she is 1.5 decades older than 20 years. Kasi 35, ano? Di ba, no? 35 years old yung female or yung women. So she is 1.5 decades older than 20 years. So sabi, you're going to subtract 2% doon sa subtract 2% for each decade above 20 years. Sabi, di ba, no? Sa age correction. Okay. So she is 1.5 decades older than 20 years. So the age correction is 1.5 multiplied by 0.02 ay 0.03. And then to compute for the BMR, so ano yung value pag sa women or sa female? That is 0.9 kilocalorie per kilogram per hour of body weight multiplied by 1 minus 0.03. So, our BMR per hour, di ba no? The basal metabolism rate per hour ay 0.873 kilocalorie per hour per kilogram of body weight. So, ganito po yung magiging standard natin na computation. Okay, so let's say if you are asked to compute for 24 hours, di ba? That is based on metabolism rate per day kasi 24 hours. So yung 0.873 kilocalorie per hour per kilogram multiply by 59, yun yung kanyang weight. Multiply by kilogram multiply by 59 multiply by 24 hours. So ang ating basal metabolism rate per day ay 1238 kilocalorie per day. Okay. So, if we're going to compute for the BMR per minute, so 1238 over 24 hours multiplied by 60 minutes ay 0.86 kilocalorie per minute. Diba na? Per minute. Question, for example, number 1. So, we're going to determine the daily metabolism rate of 35-year-old women who weighs 59 kilograms. Next, another. So a man is 59 years old, weight 178 pounds. Note, 1 kilograms ay 2.2 pounds. Determine the BMR per day. Per day. So the same. So the same lang. So kinonvert lang yung 178 pounds to 80.70 kilograms. So since siya ay, anong age niya? 59. So, he is 3.9 decade older than 20 years. Ano yung kanya magiging corresponding value? 1, di ba no? 1 ang value niya, di ba no? So, all in all, ang kanyang basic metabolism rate per day ay 1786.39 kilocalorie per day. Okay, so question regarding this age corrector in terms of the basal metabolism rate per minute, per hour, per day. So basta yung ang ating pinaka baseline ay 20-year-old, 20 years na ang age. So older than that, magkakaroon na tayo ng age corrector. Okay, so we'll now proceed with the energy expenditure or the ER. So, yung energy expenditure, so, or the ER rate of the activities in terms of the kilocalorie per minute. And also we have the BMR plus AMR. It is the sum of basal and activity metabolic rates per kilocalorie per minute. Diba na? Per kcal minute. So normally, ER is equals to BMR plus AMR. Okay. So in terms of the energy expenditure rates, as physical activity become more strenuous, totoo naman, di ba, no? Kung masyadong physical yung nature ng work, kailangan natin ng a lot of force, kailangan natin mag-exert ng a lot of effort, di ba, no? We lift too heavy, di ba, no? Masyadong physical yung nature ng work. Energy expenditure increases, so as oxygen consumption and heart rate also increases. Okay, so we have the standard in terms of the energy expenditure rates. So we're going to assume that to be for a person who weighs 72 kilograms or 160 pounds. Diba, no? Ang ating basis naman ay 72 kilograms or 160 pounds. So, di ba, ang basis natin ay 72 kilograms or the 160 pounds. If the weight differs from 72 or 160, so kailangan natin in terms of an adjustment by the ratio ng given weight over 72 or given weight over 160. Kapag hindi nagsakto yung given natin sa problem dyan sa 72 or 160. Diba na? Magkakaroon tayo ng an adjustment by the ratio ng yung given weight over 72 or given weight over 160. Okay? Okay, so we have the energy expenditure rates. Sa sleeping, Some of the books, ang nilalagay nila kapag sleeping ka daw ay zero ang energy expenditure, which is hindi totoo. Kasi kapag zero, di patay na yung tao, di ba na? Kasi wala nang movement. Pero some of the books, kino-compute nila. Kung manotice nyo, yung ibang books ay merong certain computation. Yung iba kasi, parang kino-consider na sleeping, wala ka ng movement. Pero dapat, hindi siya totally isi-zero natin in terms of the energy expenditure. Kasi kung zero, normally, wala nang movement yung tao kahit natutulog. Parang patay na siya, di ba na? Hindi na siya moving. So here are some of the rates given in terms of the energy expenditure per activity. Sleeping, hindi siya zero ha. Sample problem natin mamaya meron. Standing, walking, jogging, soldering, mowing, chopping, shoveling in front of furnace, and others, di ba na? May mga corresponding energy expenditure rate or the ER, di ba na? Or the ER per minute. Okay, so let us try this one. A 35-year-old woman who weighs 59 kilograms or 130 pounds. So we're going to compute yung kanyang total daily metabolic rate. Yung daw mga activities niya, natutulog siya ng 8 hours, sleeps 8 hours, walks to and from work from 1 hour and 4.5 kilometer per hour, stands for 2 hours, yun daw yung kanyang mga activities na, performs soldering work for 6 hours while seated, watches TV and rest for 7 hours, and determine her total metabolic rate for 24-hour period. Okay. So, di ba kanina may sample tayo, pinakompute, yung in terms of the energy, yung metabolic rate per hour, per day, per minute, ng 35-year-old women din, di ba no? Na the same yung weight, 59 kilograms. Kung manotice nyo, kasi nga hindi naman natin pwedeng i-zero yung energy expenditure kapag natutulog. Kasi may movement din naman, di ba no? There is a movement kahit tayo ay natutulog. So, mean to say, hindi pwedeng totally zero. Kung manotice nyo, nasaan ba yun? Kung manotice nyo, yung sabi kanina ay 35-year-old na women weighs 59. Ito yung same na problem kanina eh. So yung kanyang energy expenditure ay 0.86. Kasi for a 35-year-old woman, kasi walang naman, we can consider this parang siya ay walang ginagawang activity, or we can easily parang say na, let's say natutulog kasi walang ginagawa, pero may movement. So, we're going to use this particular sa age na 35 na weighs yung women ng 59 kilograms, ang kanyang BMR or yung kanya ay 0.86. Di ba na? 0.86. Okay, so sleeps 8 hours, walks to and from work from 1 hour, stands for 2 hours, performs soldering for 6 hours, watches TV and rests for 7 hours. We're going to determine her total metabolic rate for 24 hours period. Okay, for sleeping, di ba? Natutulog daw siya ng 8 hours. So, we're going to convert in minutes kasi yung ating mga energy rate or yung expenditure ay in minutes, kilocalorie per minute. So, 8 hours ay 80 minutes. Walking, 1 hour, di ba na? That is 60 minutes. Standing ng 2 hours, 120 minutes. Perform soldering for 6 hours. So that is 360. And then other activities for 20. Watches TV and rest for 7 hours. That is for 20 minutes. So what will be the hour ER? For sleeping, hindi nyo isi-zero yan na. Kasi in some of the books, zero. Some of the books, hindi. Pero dun sa mga review center, sa Certified Industrial Engineer, naka 0.86 yung sleeping. Considering yung age na given at yung weight niya at women, di ba no? Siguro pag men, hindi siya magkaiba. Iko-compute niya. Okay, walking, di ba dito may mga given naman dito, walking. 4 kilocalorie per minute. Check nyo na lang, di ba no? And then, standing, 2.2, soldering, 2.7, then other activities, 1.5. So, meron naman ditong mga value na to doon sa ating given na table sa previous slides. Okay, so since we are dealing with the total metabolic rate or the TMR, we're going to have the weight factor. Ano sabi? It should be, kailan tayo magkakaroon ng correction? Sabi dito, dapat daw ay nasa 72 or 160 exact yung magiging weight Di ba, no? Kapag hindi sakto yung given, kailangan natin magkaroon ng adjustment, weight over 72 or weight over 160. Kaya sa problem, nagkaroon ng, kasi ilan ang given natin ito? 130 pounds, di ba, no? So, hindi siya sakto sa 160, di ba, no? So, that's why naging 130 over 160, lahat nagkaroon ng weight factor or nagkaroon ng correction. Of course, sa sleeping, wala nang correction. Kasi nga, natutulog ka lang naman, di ba, no? Pero meron ka ng energy rate, di ba, no? Di ba, no? Meron ka pa rin consumption kapag natutulog kasi may movement pa rin naman ng tao. Okay. So, nagkaroon dito ng weight factor kasi hindi siya sumakto sa given na weight. Okay. So, then we have the total energy. So, paano i-compute yung total energy? Paano i-compute yung total energy? So that is 480 multiplied by 0.86. Diba na? And also, another one, yung sa walking, 60 times 4 multiplied by 0.81. That is 194.4. The same procedure kay standing, soldering, and then the other activities to compute for the weight factor and then the total energy. Okay, we're going to compute for the total energy. So we have the BAMR, the basal, and then other activities. So i-compute natin lahat yun, total ng 2118 kilocalorie. Okay, sabi sa digestive, kunin natin ang 10% noong algebraic sum ng BMR and AMR. Di ba na? I-add natin daw, di ba na? So, kasi ang total metabolism, ang component niya ay yung algebraic sum ng BMR, AMR plus yung digestive. Pero si digestive, bago makuha natin ang value, kailangan natin kunin yung 10% ng algebraic sum ng BMR and AMR. So, kunin natin ang 10% ng 2,118, that is 212. So, 211 plus 212, 211.8 plus 212 ay 2330 kilocalorie. That is DTMR per day. Kasi di ba we are asked to compute for the total metabolic rate for 24-hour period or total metabolic rate per day. Question. Okay, no question. Parang wala na kayo dyan. Nandiyan pa kayo?
Yes po.
Okay.
Yes po.
Nunez, parang nag-concert ka.
Nung sir, New Year.
Okay. Next, we have the recommended energy expenditure. So, energy expenditure rate of the physical activity, for male, that is 5. For female, that is 4. Parang sinasabi dito na mas malakas talaga ang male compared to female. Na? Next, energy expenditure of the physical activity for the entire 8-hour shift. So, male, 2,400 kilocalorie, female, 1,920. The heart rate. So, that's the maximum time weighted average during shift. 120 beats per minute ang male, 110 beats per minute ang female. Okay, so to compute for the time weighted average energy expenditure, so we have ER is equals to summation of TI multiplied by ER over summation of TI, where ER, this is the time weighted average, T sub TI, duration of time period I during total time period of interest in minutes, ERI, energy expenditure rate during the time period I. Okay, let us try this example. A male worker, o male, ano ba kailangan nating pag male? 5, no? Kilocalorie, female ay 4. Okay. A male worker performs a repetitive task for 4 hours during the morning that requires an energy expenditure rate of 7.5 kilocalorie per minute. Each hour, he works 40 minutes at this task and then takes 20 minutes rest break. During the rest breaks, his energy expenditure rate is estimated to be 1.5 kilocalorie per minute. So to substitute, considering this a problem, this ating formula, so we have the energy expenditure rate of 5.5 kilocalorie per minute. So it exceeds the recommended value of 5 for male. Di ba na? For male. So meaning to say, medyo hazardous on the part of the male worker kapag ganito yung kanyang yung nature ng work, di ba na? So meron siyang repetitive task na 4 hours during the morning that requires an energy expenditure doon ng 7.5. Ang taas, di ba, no? 7.5. So each hour, he works 40 minutes at this task and then takes 20 minutes rest break. During the rest break, his energy expenditure rate is estimated to be 1.5. Kasi masyado sigurong physical yung nature ng work tapos repetitive pa. Kaya 7.5 kilocalorie na yung kanyang energy expenditure. To compute, the answer will be 5.5 kilocalorie per minute. So it exceeds the recommended value yung 5, di ba? No? 5 sa table. Next, the rest period allowance. So the rest period ay equal sa W minus 5.33 over W minus 1.33. So standard po yung 5.33 and 1.33. Where R, that is the time required for rest. W is the average energy expenditure work. Okay, let us try this example. A worker is shoveling sand at a rate of 8 kilocalorie per minute. How much rest does he need during an 8-hour shift? How should the rest be allocated? Okay, so yung kanyang R will be 0.4. Therefore, in an 8-hour shift, the worker would need to rest 3 hours. Grabe, no? Parang hindi na siya totoo kapag ganito yung magiging kanyang break time sa company. Sa kanyang 8-hour shift daw, kasi baka naman nasa construction, nagpapala siya, and then nasa under the sun, tapos mag-isa lang siya, di ba, no? Sobrang physical yung work. Kaya he needs a 3.2 or 3 hours rest for a 8 hours na schedule. Kasi masyado naman talaga mahirap, lalo kung nag-iisa lang siya doon sa pag-shovel ng sand at the rate ng 8 kilocalorie per minute, di ba, no? Imagine mo yung kanyang energy requirement ay 8 kilocalorie, ay yung standard ng, let's say, sa man ay 5, sa women ay 4, di ba, no? Parang masyadong ang bigat ng nature ng work niya kasi ang taas ng kailangan niyang energy expenditure, 8 kilocalorie per minute. Eh, di ba, sa male ay 5 lang. Sa physical activity, sa female ay 4. Sa kanyang nature ng work ay 8 kilocalorie per minute. So kaya kailangan daw meron siyang 3 hours na break, na rest allowance sa 8-hour shift. Pag ganito yung nature ng work. Kasi baka under the sun, nag-iisa lang, manual kasi yung shoveling ng sand, mabigat, di ba, no? May mga ganong consideration. Okay. Another, a male worker performs a task during the 4 hours of the morning that has an energy expenditure of 6. Determine how much of this 4-hour period should be allowed for rest break. Determine the work time. Okay, ang rest niya ay ang R niya ay 0.14. Therefore, in a 4-hour period, the worker would need to rest 4 multiplied by the given value ng R ay 0.575 hours. 0.574 hours, equivalent to 34.44 minutes. Di ba na? So, yung total work niya ay, in terms of minutes ay 205.56. Pero considering that ilang oras siya nag-work for? So 4 hours, kailangan daw niya ng rest na 34 or 35 minutes. So another, that is also in terms of the rest period. So, okay, madali lang naman siya. So that's all question regarding the metabolism in terms of the muscular activity. Question? So I will upload this maybe mamayang gabi. So try to check nyo na lang ha yung sa PowerPoint. Okay, next. So, ilan na tayo? 36. Sir, di daw po makapasok si John. Nasaan na siya? Okay. Okay, so we will now proceed to 6B hindi na ha. 6C na lang. Okay. Pero pakita ko na lang din yung 6B ha. Okay.
Sa kwarto.
Kasi yung 6B, it's more on the continuation ng biomechanics. Pero maaga pa naman. Yung 6B kasi ay continuation ng biomechanics. Pero, ang focus kasi ni 6B is more on mga musculoskeletal disorder, yung mga MSDs. Okay, so continuation ng biomechanics, pero focus more on the musculoskeletal disorders. Okay, so what are the learning outcomes? Explain the basic biomechanics, discuss what is the cumulative trauma disorder, and also yung reason ng CTDs. What are the different causes daw ng musculoskeletal disorder or the MSDs? And then what are the possible solutions to control the MSDs? Yung mga nararamdaman yung pain, back pain, shoulder pain, chest pain, leg pain, di ba, no? Lahat. So, yun ay kasama sa mga disorders. Okay, so dito kasi sa PowerPoint 6B, it's more on the biomechanics and also the occupational biomechanics. Pakiread na lang ha, kasi ay para matapos lang natin yung coverage. And then, so there is yung mga tinatawag na mga kinesiology terms, di ba? Terms used in kinesiology. Pag sinabing flexion, decreasing the angle, extension, increasing the angle, adduction, movement toward the middle of the body, abduction, moving away from the mid-body, pronation, face down or palm down, supination, face up or palm down. Palm yung pangalawa. No? So, ayan yung representation. Kapag siya ay flexion, di ba na? Extension, yung sa lower left. And then, abduction, di ba na? Kapag abduction, pataas. Kapag adduction, nasa taas, pababa. Supination, and then pronation. So, ito yung representation niya, no? In terms sa mga kinesiology terms. So, also, dito kasi, is more on the role ng biomechanics. So, kino-consider din kasi yung load tolerance. Kasi, although sabi nga kanina, yung stress ay hindi naman siya lagi nag-lead to ill effects. Pero kasi meron kasi siyang pinaka-peak, di ba, na merong hangganan, di ba, no? So, meron din sinasabing pinaka-point kung saan hindi na nasusustain ng employees, di ba, no? In terms doon sa load or sa stress. And then, wala kasi And ito, so may mga kino-consider din tayo, let's say kung standing of position, let's say in terms ng position, light work, heavier work, and then sa ina-apply yung biomechanical principles sa back, sa ating wrist, di ba, no? Sa shoulders, may mga ganong consideration. And then kino-consider yung mga CTDs natin, cumulative trauma disorder, are disorders of the softer tissue due to primary to repeated use. So, di ba, pag nag-online games kayo ng 12 hours magdamag, anong napifeel nyo doon sa inyong wrist, di ba na? So, nakakangalay, no? That's under the cumulative trauma disorder, or the CTDs. Are most commonly reported in the tendons and the nerves of the upper extremities, including the fingers, the wrist, the forearm, the upper arm, and then the shoulder. Pero mostly, ang affected yung sa wrist natin sa may kamay, na. So, what are the several reasons? Unnatural joint posture, yung posture natin, forceful application, repetition activity, individual factors. So sa individual, baka may mga medical problems, arthritis, may mga circulatory disorder, and small hand wrist size. So yun, yung mga reason. So what are the prevention techniques daw, particularly sa mga CTDs? So we have the admin control, the engineering controls, diba na? And then what are the therapeutic approaches? Kasi kapag kayo ay prone to kay cumulative trauma disorder, so some of them, sabi magpahinga ka lang, and then yung iba nagbibigay ng vitamins, and then, pero yung surgery is the last resort. Although pwede naman kasi mag-undergo ng operation, pero based doon sa ibang sinasabi sa books, kasi pag malamig, pag nag-undergo operation ka sa wrist mo, dito sa CTD, so pag malamig, sumasakit daw siya. Masakit pag malamig. And then what are the common cumulative trauma disorder? We have the bursitis or the bursitis, or the bursae are pad-like sacs found in the vicinity of joints. O di ba kapag may mga, ang tawag doon, yung sumasakit yung ating mga tuhod. Yung pag matatanda na, di ba, no? May mga gout and whatsoever. So the trigger finger develops and the finger is used excessively against sharp edges. And then the carpal tunnel syndrome, commonly caused by repetitive and forceful application of the wrist and joint extreme. Then we have the Raynaud's phenomenon, yung white fingers. Ito yung example natin sa vibration. And then what are the causes, ergonomic and individual. So ito, na. So pupunta na tayo dun sa isa. Sa topic 6C. Okay, so nakita niyo yung PowerPoint. Okay, so this is one of the solution paano natin ma-prevent or ma-eliminate yung mga disorders. We're going to apply the NIOSH lifting equation or the NIOSH or the NIOSH. When we say NIOSH, that is the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Diba na? That is for the NIOSH. Okay. So NIOSH is responsible for conducting research and making recommendations for the prevention of work-related injury and illness. Okay, si NIOSH kasi is focused particularly more on the manual lifting. Kasi di ba kung nagwo-work ka ng 8 to 12 hours, then manual yung nature ng work mo, then nagli-lift ka ng ganong weight, exceed doon sa normal, what will happen? Di ba, no? A lot of disorders will experienced by the workers. Okay, so the NIOSH lifting equation is a tool used by occupational health and safety professionals to assess the manual material handling risk associated with lifting and lowering tasks in the workplace. So yung nakita yung drawing sa right, yung may mga letters or variables, gagamitin natin yan to compute for the NIOSH equation later. This equation considers job task variables to determine safe lifting practices and guidelines. Okay, the primary product of the NIOSH lifting equation is the RWL, or the recommended weight limit, which defines the maximum acceptable weight that nearly all healthy employees could lift over the course of an 8-hour shift without increasing the risk of MSDs to the lower back. Kasi lagi ang consideration ay 8 hours lang ang kanilang schedule. In addition, a lifting index is calculated, or yung LI, to provide a relative estimate of the level of physical stress and MSD risk associated with the manual lifting task evaluated. Okay. RWL answers the question, is this weight too heavy for the task? And then the LI answer the questions, how significant is the risk? LI is calculated to provide a relative estimate of the level of physical stress and also yung risk associated. A lifting index value of less than 1 indicates a normal risk to healthy employees. A lifting index of 1 or more denotes that the task is high risk for some fraction of the population. Ano yung kinoconsider dito some fraction of the population? Baka yung okay pa, for example, nagkaroon tayo ng value na 1.1, 1.09, okay pa sa ibang workers, sa ibang part, sa ibang fraction ng population or sa ibang workers, pero hindi na pala siya normal sa ibang workers. Kasi 'di ba magkakaiba naman tayo ng strength, 'di ba na? So, as the LI increases, the level of low back injury risk increases correspondingly. Diba? Of course, kung mataas yung value ng computed LI, mas risky on the part of the workers and prone to different disorders. Therefore, the goal is to design all lifting jobs to accomplish an LI of less than 1.0. Okay, RWL defines the maximum acceptable weight that could lift, di ba, no? So, in the course of an 8 hours shift, di ba, no? Without increasing any risk. And then, the NIOSH lifting equation always uses a load constant. Ang load constant natin lagi ay 51 pounds or 23, which represents the maximum recommended load weight to be lifted under ideal condition. Yan yung pinaka-maximum weight, no, na safe na i-lift ng individual. From that starting point, the equation uses several task variables. May mga multiplier. Diba nakita nyo kanina yung sa drawing, may letters, variables. Meron silang mga corresponding multiplier. This will be the lifting equation. So, naka-pound siya, no? Sa ating binigay kasi 51. 51 siya, na? 51. Okay. So, here are the different variables. Yung H niya ay horizontal location. Ang V, the vertical. The D ay the distance. A, yung angle or the twisting requirement. Kung wala namang twisting movement, di zero ang value. F, the frequency and duration ng lifting. Ang C, yung coupling or quality of the worker's grip on the object. Coupling ang tawag. Di ba kapag mag-lift tayo ng box or ng any tray, kapag meron siyang hand grip, mas easy to lift unlike sa wala, di ba? Na meron din siyang corresponding multiplier later. Okay. So we have the ano mga variables? H, V, D, A, F, C. Ito siya. Yung mga corresponding variables. The horizontal, yung H natin. The vertical, di ba, no? The distance, the coupling, then the angle, then the frequency. So that will be our variables. Okay. To compute for the LI, LI is equals to load over RWL. Okay. So we have the additional task. We have the average weight and then the maximum weight kasi minsan binibigay siya sa problem. Okay, so the RWL and LI can be used to guide lifting task design the following ways. So, ayan na. Next, how to use the NIOSH lifting equation. Step 1, measure and record the task variables. The first steps to gather the needed information and measurements for lifting task variables and record the data to be used later to calculate the RWL and LI for the task being evaluated. Okay, so pwede tayo magawa ng table. So, considering yung mga variables. The following task variables are evaluated to calculate the multipliers that are used in the NIOSH equation to determine the RWL. Okay, here are some of the quick explanation per variable. Yung letter H natin, horizontal location of the hands. Measure and record the horizontal location of the hands at both the start and the destination. So, nasaan yung ating letter H? Diba, no? Eto, sa baba. The horizontal location is measured at the distance in inches between the employee's ankles to a point projected on the floor directly below the midpoint of the hands grasping the object as pictured below. Diba? So, yan na for the letter H. Okay, so to compute for the multiplier, di ba ang load constant daw ay 51 or 23? So, for you to have the multiplier for the horizontal, so kapag ang given ay inches na letter H, so the formula is HM or the horizontal multiplier is equals to 10 over H. And then kapag naman in centimeter, that is 25 over H. Okay, number 2, vertical location. Measure and record the vertical location of the hands above the floor at the start and end of the lifting task. Nasaan ang V? Ayan na. Paano natin i-measure ang vertical location? Measured from the floor to the vertical midpoint between the two hands as shown on the right side. Di ba na? Di ba na? So, location is measured from the floor to the vertical midpoint between the two hands. Kita niyo, di ba, between the two hands as shown on the right side of the PowerPoint. The middle knuckle can be used to define the midpoint. Ayun na. Paano tayo magkakaroon ng vertical multiplier? Kapag ang given ay inches, so VM is equals to 1 minus quantity 0.0075 multiplied by the absolute value ng V minus 30. For the centimeter, that is VM is equals to 1 minus quantity 0.003 multiplied by the absolute value ng V minus 75. Okay, the D, or the distance traveled. So the vertical travel distance, or the D variable, so it is the distance of a leaf is determined by subtracting the vertical location V at the start of the leaf from the vertical location V at the end of the leaf. For a lowering task, subtract V location at the end from the V location at the start. Asan ang V natin? Ang D. Okay. So, yan na. So, meron din tayong computation. Paano natin ito compute yung multiplier? Pag inches and centimeter. Next, angle. So, it depends upon on the observed activities. Kung for example ay merong twisting movement happen for that particular activity. Pag wala, edi zero. And then, so frequency. Determine the appropriate lifting frequency of lifting task by using the average number of lifts per minute during an average 15-minute sampling period. For example, we're going to count the total number of lifts in a typical 15 minutes period of time and divide that total number by 15 para maging multiplier. So, ang minimum ay 0.2, ang maximum ay 15. Example, kung per minute meron kang 3 lifts, kung pwede mo naman kasing gawin itong process na to na mag-observe ka ng ilang lifts meron sa 15 minutes. Kung na-observe mo na there is an average 3 lifts per minute, ay ilan yon? 3 times 15 na 3 multiplied by 15. So, kasi 3 lifts per minute, na-observe mo ay 15 minutes, tapos yung makuha mo noong answer, i-divide mo by 15. Diba na? Or, if you want, gumamit kayo ng table. So, nandito yung frequency in terms ng lifts per minute. Kunyari, isa. And then, nandito rin kung siya ay less than or equal to 1 hour. And then, kung ang kanyang V given sa ating V natin kaninang variable ay less than 30 or greater than, and pwede kayong gumamit naman ng ganitong table. Di ba na? Or kung gusto nyo kanina, i-observe nyo na lang per 15 minutes, ilan yung nanilift niya. Tapos, kung gusto nyo i-observe ay first 1 per 1 minute, kung nakakasampu, edi 10 times 15, 150. Tapos, divide 15, yung magiging value ng frequency. Or, gumamit kayo ng table. Tingnan nyo yung kung ilang oras, kung yung kanyang work duration, and also yung kanyang p-value. Less than ba or greater than or equal to. Diba? Now, that's for the frequency. Sa asymmetric kanina, sa angle, pwede nyo gamitin yung ganitong formula. Asymmetric di ba, no? Asymmetric multiplier is equals to 1 minus quantity 0.003 to multiply by angle. Pwede rin yan, di ba, no? Or pwede nyo naman, for example, parang more on yung sa assumption, di ba, no? Pwede naman. It's based on your observation doon sa activity. Okay, coupling. Yun sa grip, di ba, na hand grip. So, it can be good, fair, or poor, or 1, 2, or 3. Di ba, no? Ilalagay natin, no, na value. So, yan na. Oh. Pag sinabing good, sinabing fair, sinabing 3. Pero doon sa kanina sa table na pwede tayo magawa ng table, hindi natin ilalagay good, hindi fair, hindi poor. 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so you can use this one naman sa coupling multiplier. So, considering the V, V value kung less than 30 inches or greater than equal to, kung good, fair, or poor, pwede nyo kunin. 1, 0.95, 0.9, 1, 1, or 0.9. So, pwede yung gamitin yung table. Okay. Next, yung load. Determine the weight of the object lifted. So, of course, gagamit tayo ng scale. Duration. It can be short, moderate, or long. Pero ang ilalagay natin ay 1 to 8. Yung bang lifting niya less than equal to 1 hour lang? Or lifting niya ba ay between 1 and 2 hours? Or ang lifting niya ba ay lifting between 2 and 8 hours? So, depende na sa inyong observation. Kung short, moderate long, or 1 to 8. Okay, next. Enter the data and calculate in the RWL. So, pwede na, di ba? Kunyari, for example, naka-observe na tayo. So, i-enter na natin. Sa left, di ba? Origin, destination. Then, andito yung mga variables. Di ba na? So, ilalagay na natin, transfer na natin sa datasheet. Now, we are ready to input the collected data in our... Pwede kasing gumamit ng calculator. Pero try muna natin sample problem, ha? Pero ito kasi ay, of course, kung nag-exam kayo, let's say kayo ay nag-take ng CIE, hindi naman kayo para pahanapin pa ng table. Di ba, no? Hindi naman kayo para pahanapin pa ng table just to compute for the NIOSH. So, ito kasi mga example is more on direct substitution. With a given analysis worksheet, so ito yung mga horizontal distance, vertical distance, yung frequency multiplier coupling, the angle, the distance, the duration or the load, and then we're going to compute for the RWL. So ganyan lang. Gamitin nyo lang yung formula, ha? Kung siya ay inches or centimeter. Another example, so we're going to compute for the RWL, considering the problem number 2. So try to review na lang yung PowerPoint, ha? Okay, next. Another problem. We're going to compute for the RWL and LI. So considering the LI result, is it risky or not on the part of the workers? Risky or not on the part of the worker? So, risky on the part of the workers kasi yung LI value ay more than 1. Dapat should be less than 1. Okay, so question. So, before we proceed to the calculator. Okay, so there is what we call the calculator. Okay, sa calculator, let's say may data na tayo. You have the origin, the destination, you have the H value, the V, the D, the A, the F, the C, the duration. Kasi di ba ngayon merong other considerations sa load ay yung load average and then yung load lifted na maximum. So let's say naka-transfer na tayo ng value. We can use the calculator. Si calculator, siya na yung determine ng multiplier. Example, in-input natin, ang load ay 12.5. Average, di ba? 12.5. Input. Next, ang load constant, di ba, ay 51 or 23? So, 51. Horizontal, 15. ang destination ay 12. Ito, di ba? 15, 12. Next, vertical, 11 and 40. Matic, ang distance siya na magko-compute, 29. Kasi di ba, no? 29 plus 11 is 40. Di ba, no? Next, yung angle niya ay 10 sa origin, 0 sa destination. Wala daw movement made. Lifting duration, moderate. Lifting frequency, 2. Coupling good. Coupling good. And then, i-compute na po ni calculator. I-compute na yung LI and WL. RWL. Okay, considering the LI, so the LI in the origin is 0.6 and then the LI in the destination is 0.43. So considering the summary, di ba na? The average lifted is 12.5. That's less than yung 20.9. Di ba na? Yung RWL, 20.9. So however, the maximum load to be lifted is 26 greater than the RWL. Since the LI is 0.6, indicating a normal risk sa origin. Sa destination ay normal risk din to the employee at the destination because of the value ng LI na 0.6 and 0.4. Kasi ang LI dapat para maging risky ay more than 1. Greater than 1.0. Okay. What if, let's say kasi sa example natin ay normal risk. Wala tayong kailangang gawing changes. Wala tayong kailangang gawa ng recommendation. What if, for example, naka-encounter tayo sa ibang, naka-encounter tayo na yung LI is more than 1, let's say 274, 3.08. So we need to analyze kung ano yung kailangan nating bigyan ng improvement or the recommendation or suggestion. Kasi ito sa nakuha, it's based on the let's say sa lifting ng mga sa other companies, hindi ito nabigay ng parang buong story. So kung yung LI is more than 1, so we can, for example, suggest that to bring the object closer to the worker, we need to lower the destination of the lift, reduce the vertical travel, modify the job, may mga ganong cases. Kasi it depends upon sa case or sa scenario, paano kayo magbibigay ng suggestion or improvement kung yung LI ay that is greater than 1.0. Another scenario, so baka maka-encounter, ito yung mga possible natin na suggestion. Pero this is not standard kasi naka-base ang inyong suggestion or redesign sa inyong actual experience in terms of the cases. So that's all. So let us try, pakita ko sa inyo yung calculator. Nasaan ang calculator? This one. Okay, nakita niyo yung calculator? Di ba sabi kanina, ang weight ay 12.5. Di ba no? So, halimbawa, alisin natin to. So, input nyo lang, 12.5. Matik na, naka-constant, naka-fix yung 51. Di ba kanina yung horizontal ay 15 and 12? Input lang natin, 15, 12. Di ba na kung nakita nyo, 15, tanggalin natin na, nawala yung multiplier. 12, nawala yung multiplier. Okay, so input natin ng 15, bibigay niya na ang multiplier. 12. Okay. 11. Di ba? So, matik yung distance, di ba? Yung difference lang ay 29. Ibibigay niya na kagad yung 29. Let's say 11, tanggalin natin. And also yung 40. 40. Diba na? So, 11, 40. Matik, i-compute niya na yung distance. 29. Diba? Lifting duration. Mamili ka lang dito. Short, moderate, long. Ano ba yung kanina? 1, 2, 8. Nakalagay doon sa table ay 2. Kaya siya ay moderate. Okay? Next. Yung frequency. 2 kanina, di ba na? Yung frequency doon sa table. And then yung coupling, pwede rin kayo mag-choose good, fair, poor. Di ba may mga corresponding value siya? Kung good, fair, poor doon sa ating discussion. So, For example purposes, sa atin ay good. I-compute niya na yung Li per origin and destination. That is 0.6 and 0.43. Question. Okay, so question sa ating biomechanics, sa ating muscular activity, yung ating metabolism, energy expenditure, the rest allowance, and then yung one of the solution in order for us to eliminate yung mga pain. So we're going to have the simple computation ng NIOSH. So baka for example, meron kayong thesis related to ergonomics, and then part of the study is more on may mga lifting. Pwede nyo siyang pang-define ng problem. You're going to use the NIOSH, malalaman nyo kung risky or not, di ba no? Pwede nyo malaman yan, di ba no? Question. So i-upload ko siya lahat sa Schoology. Okay, so question.
Wala na po, sir.
Okay. So, try to read yung PowerPoint para mas ma-internalize nyo yung solution doon sa mga given problem, ha? And also, try to check nyo yung sa NIOSH. Sisend ko rin yung calculator. So, basta lagi naka-load constant na 51 or 23. And then, you have the horizontal, the vertical, the duration, yung coupling. Yung coupling kasi yung grip sa pag-lift, di ba na? And then yung frequency, depende. Bahala kayo kung gusto nyong gamitan, let's say, in terms of the observation, check nyo yung ilang ba nalilift niya for 15 minutes, or itry nyo kung kaya per 3 or 1 minute na lift, tapos i-multiply nyo ng 15 divided by 15, di ba no? Sa lift, sa frequency, or gamitan nyo ng table. Doon sa angle, sa asymmetry, so you can use yung nasa baba ng table para makuha yung multiplier. Diba na? So, yun. Question. So, anong coverage natin? Naka-exam na ba tayo ng ano? Si anthropometric?
Opo, sir.
Oh, kasama na siya. Okay lang. Wait, check ko lang yung coverage ng exam. Okay, midterm. So, mag-start tayo sa vibration. Vibration ang ating simula. Wait lang ha. Okay, so hindi pa. We will start sa vibration. O tama. Ang haba pala ng coverage natin. We will start vibration, anthropometry, and biomechanics. Okay, so that will be our coverage. Vibration, anthropometry, and biomechanics. That is PowerPoint. Teka lang, paano ba nakalagay sa akin? So, topic 4, 5, 6 ang ating coverage. Topic 4, topic 5, topic 6. 6A, 6B, 6C. Question regarding sa midterm exam on January 14. Okay, type of exam. So, baka may objective type. And then may computation tayo in terms of the metabolism. And I don't know kung makakagawa ako ng exam pertaining kay NIOSH. So yun, may computation ha. Topics 4, 5, 6A, 6B, 6C. So that will be on January 14. Okay? Question. 1 minute. You still have 1 minute. Sobra na tayo. 1 to 2:30. Walang question?
Wala po, sir.
Kung wala ng question, so we will still meet on Monday para makadiscuss tayo ng pang-finals. Ha? Pero your exam will be on January 14. Huwag na tayo mag-exam ng Monday para magamit natin yung Monday. Ha? Sayang din kasi yung topics eh. So, January 14, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. online. Ha? So, thank you. Pwede na kayong mag-exit sa Google Meet.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you po, sir.